In this video, I'll be showing you how to install Oracle Database 19c in AWS EC2 machine. To create an EC2 machine, we require a basic network setup to be done in AWS account. I have my new AWS account created. Now I need to configure a basic network setup, which is creating a VPC and assigning subnets to it. When you go to a VPC page, I don't have any VPCs. So now I need to create a VPC. And the CIDR block, you can choose the default CIDR block, or you can customize it with your own IP address. We are not choosing any IPv6 CIDR block, and the tenancy is default. Now create. VPC is created and it has its own IPv6 address here. Now once a VPC gets created, we need to create subnets. In AWS, we will have 3 different availability zones. For each availability zone, we require to create one subnet, or you can create only one subnet for one availability zone. It's up to you. But I'll create 3 subnets for 3 availability zones. Select the VPC which we just created, and the availability zone. These are the 3 availability zones in Sydney region. So I'll be selecting 2A for subnet 1, and for each subnet we need to create VPC CIDR. I'll be selecting 1. So this is my CIDR block 10.9.1.0 24, and then create. I have one subnet that gets created in availability zone 2A. Now I need to create remaining 2 subnets. I'll copy this, select the VPC, availability zone 2B, and my CIDR for that particular subnet will be 224. And then create another subnet. Select the VPC, availability zone 3, and the CIDR should be 324. Now I have my 3 subnets created in 3 different availability zones. These are called as private subnets because you don't have any internet gateway attached to it. If you don't have internet gateway attached to it, your EC2 machine will not be able to talk to internet and download any RPMs that required. So create internet gateway. Once you create an internet gateway, you should attach this internet gateway to a VPC, which we just created. Once we have created internet gateway and attached it to the VPC, we now then assign the newly created internet gateway to our route table. Add a route table and select 00 internet gateway and select the one which we created now. Once we save the route, it is assigned to our route table. Now you can see under the subnets route table, you have the internet gateway here. For each subnet, you can see the internet gateway. So now these subnets became public subnets, which means whatever the VMs or EC2 machines that you create under these subnets will have internet access. So this completes a basic network setup for our EC2 machine. Now let's create EC2 machine. Go to EC2 and then instances. I don't have any instances here, so launch an instance. I choose Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 and I'll go with T2 large, which is having 2 CPUs and 8 GB of memory. In configure instance details, we require only one instance, and the VPC by default it got selected, and the subnet. You can choose any subnet. I'll choose subnet 1 and then enable auto assign public IP, which will give us a public IP to our EC2 machine. Add storage. For the root volume, I'll be selecting 10 GB, and for my U01 volume, I'll be selecting 50 GB. For my oradata volume, I'll be required a 50 GB of disks. You can add a number of volumes here, or after creating our EC2 machine, we can add a number of volumes. Next, add tags. I'm not adding any tags here. Configure security groups. I don't have any security groups except the default one, but I'll create a new one, which is DB group, and I'll be selecting the port range 22 for my IP, and then review and launch, and then launch. Here it will ask you to choose an existing key pair or create a new key pair. I don't have any key pairs at the moment, so I'll be creating a new key pair. And then say download key pair. I'll name this instance as dev.db. You can see the status as initializing. What I'll do is I'll copy my public IP, and I'm using mobxterm to connect to the EC2 machine. So I'll start a new session here, SSH, and host, and say EC2 user, which is the default user you need to use. And then click OK. You can see it will allow you to log into that particular EC2 machine as the EC2 user. Now switch to root user using sudo su -. If you say hostname, it will automatically give you the internal IP address of that particular machine, which you can see it here. This is the private DNS. You can change the hostname and configure all the RPMs that are required for the database. You can rename it to whatever the name you require and configure the Linux machine for the database to be installed. I'm going to assign my own hostname to it instead of picking up the default one. For that, you have hostnamectl command to be used. Hostnamectl set hostname, and whatever the hostname you select as a static one, it will automatically select that particular hostname. And then open up this cloud configuration file and go to the bottom of it and add this parameter, preserve hostname true, which will make sure that this hostname is always be there for your EC2 machine. And then open up EC2 host file and add your private IP to it. Now when you say hostname, instead of giving its default name, it is giving you the one which you set. Now you need to create partitions based on the volumes you selected while installing. You can see I have xvdb 50 GB and xvdc 50 GB. I require a 20 GB for my swap, which I haven't selected here. I can now create another 20 GB disk and attach it to this particular EC2 machine. And then you can see the 20 GB disk gets added here. Go to volumes and then create a volume, 20 GB disk, and make sure you select 2A, and I don't require any key. I have this volume now, and then attach this volume to the instance that we created. Now you can choose whatever name that you require here, but we have SVDC, so now it should be F. Yeah, it is getting attached to that particular instance. You can see you have a 20 GB disk. Now do lsblk and it will show you the 20 GB disk. Now partition these volumes and create U01 oradata and assign this 20 GB to system swap. For that I have a list of commands here. So it should be F and say mkswap and then swapon. It will give you the UUID of the disk, which you need to append here, and then copy this line, go to etcfs tab, add it here, so that whenever you reboot this machine will make sure that it attach the swap volume based on this UUID. Now I'll do xvdb for U01. It should be U01. Sorry, it's xvdb. And then create U01 directory and then mount that particular partition to U01 and then get the UUID of that particular partition and make it permanent by adding it in FS tab. Same case for oradata. We have xvdc. Now create oradata directory and mount oradata directory and then get the UUID of that particular mount. And add it in etcfs tab. Now even if you restart or shut down or restart after some time, you will not lose these volumes. If you don't add these volumes in FS tab, there won't be any guarantee that you will get back these volumes. Now we have partitioned all the volumes and we have set our own host name. Now we need to follow some Oracle prerequisites to configure the machine so that we can install our Oracle database. These are Oracle recommended settings for any Linux machine. And now we need to configure SSH. So what we are really doing here is we are making password authentication yes, which will help us log into this particular machine as Oracle user instead of EC2 user. And yes, using public key authentication. And client alive interval will keep the session active. Otherwise, for every couple of seconds, the SSH session gets killed automatically. So these settings will help us keep alive our session, and these two settings will help us log into a Linux machine using our Oracle user. Now we need to create a group and then Oracle user. If you want to log in as Oracle user, you need to set password for Oracle user, and I'll set password for root user as well. And then create a directory structure for our Oracle database, and then we'll change the ownership of that particular directory. We can install all these RPMs using yum except the below one, which has to be manually downloaded from the URL. I'll paste this URL in the description of the video. I have installed all the RPMs now. This completes EC2 machine configuration for our Oracle database to be installed. Now let's restart this machine. Press R to restart the session. Now you can see on the left hand side, you will have SCP window opened. You can transfer any files from here. I'll be deleting this lost plus found, which confuses us. So I'll be uploading my database software along with patches. But let me create a directory here. Go to the software directory and then as you can see, we are getting this permission denied issue because we logged into this machine as EC2 user and then switched to Oracle user. So when you log in as EC2 user, your SCP session will be opened as EC2 user. And now EC2 user will not have any permission on Oracle user file system. So that's why it says permission denied. To avoid this permission denied issue, what we can do is we can edit our session and let's log in as Oracle user. And type in the password. Now you can upload any files under U01. Let's install the RPM first. This is one of the requirement for Oracle 19c database. Login as a root user and then RPM IVH. Once RPM is installed, we need to extract 19c database, which should be unzipped in the location that we created. Once it is extracted, I'll set my environment variables in .bash profile. Now, before installing Oracle database, we need to unzip remaining patches. that we have downloaded. Here are the patches which were unzipped in E01 soft. Now let's go to Oracle Home. We need to export one variable as we are installing our Oracle database on Red Hat 8. The software doesn't know that it is supported, but it is supported. So we need to export this variable so that our uninstaller assumes that we are installing it on Red Hat 7. There is an easy way of installing database as well as patches at the same time. So we apply the release update as well as we apply the one-off patch while we are installing 19C database. So this release is release 6, 19C release 6, and we have these JVM patches that will get applied. Sorry, it's my bad. The path is wrong. Our release update is applied, and now the JVM patch is getting applied. It's the same approach for release 7 patches as well. Instead of downloading release 6 patches, you can download release 7 patches and apply the same. So we choose create and configure a single instance database, and it's a server class, and it's an enterprise edition, and Oracle base automatically picked up as we have already exported our Oracle Home, and Aura inventory, it's a general purpose, and I'm not installing any container databases, it's just a single instance database. And I leave all the memory default settings. Character set, we should make sure that it is AL32 UTF-8. And the file system, we have our oradata as a mount. I need to make sure that I have given all the required ownership to oradata. Next, if you want to enable flash recovery, you can always enable and provide the location for the flash recovery. And I'll be giving a common password for system and sys. I'll ignore all these warnings. Next, if you know the root password, you can always provide the root password so that you don't need to manually run post-installation scripts. We need to say yes halfway through. Now the installation is successful. Click close. I can see the database is up and running. This concludes database installation on Amazon EC2.